Welcome, everyone, to the 5th episode of the Unbanned podcast. My name is Jake, and today we're going to unban Dance of the Manse, brand new card from Throne of Eldraine. We got the usual cast here today. Justin?
It's me.
It is him. Oh no. And we got Jordan.
I'm a celebrity guest.
Why do you gotta lie to these people? And we'll be talking about the first week of Throne of Eldraine Standard, all the new cards finally legal in the format. For some reason, they weren't legal last week, even though you can play them on MTG Arena all the time. So it's kind of almost a week late at this point, but we're gonna pretend like this is release week, okay?
It's kind of odd that you basically get a pre-release, but it's it's an actual pre-release of the cards on MTGA because they're actually released a week early on MTGA and I guess MTGO as well.
Yeah, our unbanned card for this week, Dance of the Manse, was actually Brian Gottlieb won the very first fandom tournament before most pre-release tournaments actually happened.
Pretty amazing.
It was 2 hours after the release on MTGA. Deck looks really impressive. I'm excited to talk about that in a minute. But it's weird because, in paper, we had to wait until we're recording this Sunday the 6th, and we had to wait until this Friday on the 4th, but they have had 2 fandom tournaments in the time it took us to actually get to release day.
Yeah, the meta in Modern Magic is much faster. Not like the format, I mean modern day Magic. The meta shifts very quickly, and what's best is found pretty quickly as well, it seems like, just because we have so much more access to information and major tournaments online to work off of. So, on that note, should we move into our first topic?
Basically, we're just going to be talking about Eldraine all this week. What have you guys been playing? I've been trying pretty much every other deck that I see on Twitter, so...
Well, sadly I haven't been as experimental as I probably should be, especially since I don't have wild cards on Arena right now. I have no rare wild cards. I've been wanting to play that green-black Reanimator deck that you could find on our Patreon.
That's patreon.com/unbadpodcast.
Beautiful. That was really fun, actually. I played it in the Play Any Card You Want event. I was 9 of my 12 games, and it's super fun. It's just weird to chuck ball lightnings at your opponent every turn, 2 or 3 every turn, and draw a card by playing each of them. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I have not seen this deck, so yeah, go through how this deck works for those of us who haven't seen it.
No, I got the gist on the Patreon, but what card is Ball Lightning?
The Ball Lightning is Deathless Knight. The 4 mana, 4 hybrid Golgari mana, 4/2 with haste.
Oh.
And with the Great Henge, you can tap 2 green and gain 2 life, so it brings it back from the graveyard. Because usually you just block it, you chump block these things. So you bring it back from the graveyard, and it comes in as a 5/3 haste, and you draw a card. It's a super grindy engine, but it's really fun.
You know, that's something I want to touch on before I go into what I'm playing is Standard is about engines, and it has been for the last 2 releases, it seems like. There's a lot of them in Eldraine. The format is super grindy. Mid-range and control seem to be very, very good. Every game goes really long. With all the food around, it's really hard to play aggro, it seems like, just because everyone's gaining life. It's crazy.
I mean, I do want to just point this out real quick with Standard. I feel like it got undersold that Nexus is out of Standard.
It's
I feel
so
like
nice.
Nobody's talking about it.
I'm so happy about it as well. And Nexus was an obnoxious card to play against. Very fun when you had it in your deck, but when your opponent is casting 4 Nexuses to win the game, then you're just like, okay, I'm never getting another turn. I guess I'll just concede. That is super obnoxious.
Well, it also just made this problem where it's I wanted to play green-black mid-range for a lot of the last 2 standard sets. It doesn't matter because Nexus of Fate just goes over top of it. You can't out mid-range infinite turns. That's the best thing to be doing in the late game.
Yeah, so that means that if you're playing a grindy deck, you're forced to play blue for Nexus.
I mean, I would even say something like Surgical would stop it, but the only Surgical-like card in the format right now is Unmortigo, So you have to have blue even for that. It's hybrid. They really need like a mono black surgical extraction or extirpate in this format.
Reprint extirpate. Bring back split second.
Let's not.
Let's just make a new one. Make it not as good. Like make it say instant or sorcery or something like that.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't get because we got Unmoored Ego with the Ravnica set, but I think Slaughter games would make more sense in the Rakdos Guild, because why not just bring back Slaughter games or something like that?
I mean, it is 4 mana. It's pretty expensive.
True, but I mean, Unmoored Ego's 3.
I just think they just need to make a mono black one, like Jake said. It would just be nice to get a mono black, get rid of everything. Like I said, they could have even incorporated an Eldraine. They could have made like rip out the page or something like that. Like that'd be the name of it.
That could have been cool.
There's so many cards in Throne of Eldraine that they could have made. Like, I think most people have an idea of like, oh, well, there's this fairy tale that wasn't represented, and you can just like make a card based around it immediately. I would not be surprised if we do like a second Throne of Eldraine in the next few years.
So back on the Reanimator deck, it's sad because I haven't been able to play it since that event, just because I don't have the wild card, so I've been going back to the Hydras deck, which is still super fun. It's just not as consistent anymore. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. I've been trying to make Rakdos work myself, and it's the exact same Rakdos deck as pre-rotation, and it's just not there. It just doesn't hold up against most of the decks people are playing.
It's kind of hard to pressure someone when they've got an Oko that's making 3/3s that can also be sacked to gain life.
It's also just slower. I played Mardu, like, Aristocrats with Judith and Heroic Reinforcements for a while, and I really liked playing that deck because most people weren't prepped for how fast it can kill, because on turn 4, if you just swing with Heroic Reinforcements with the Judith out, it was often like 18 damage that they were taking.
Yeah, and that's a quick kill.
Very quick, especially for standard. But a lot of the red pieces we got just don't lean towards those type of starts, and Heroic Reinforcements, of course, rotated itself, so you can't be doing that. There's not a lot of great token generators, except for maybe Hero and the new Hero of Precinct 1 and the new Knight that makes a 1/1 with every Knight. But Mardu Knights is a higher top-end deck, so you can't really do the same thing that I was doing, where it's just like, 1-drop, Judith, Heroic Reinforcements, oh look, you're dead!
Yeah, the closest you can get to that is like the closest you can probably get to that is a Cavalcade of Calamity deck, which I find super fun. Actually, I played it as well. I played it for a couple games.
It's a really fun deck. I've been running into a lot of Grixis Fires of Invention, and they have main board Ritual of Soot and main board Cry of the Canarium, and it's just devastating, because all your stuff dies to Cry of the Canarium.
Except your Spitfire, but yeah, at that point, what's the point of it?
Yeah, Spitfire is a good way to finish off the game if you get in before that. If you just top deck into Spitfire and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna deal like, what is it, 6 damage? Yeah?
About to say, in turn 5 of a game, I dealt 25 with Chandra Spitfire in one attack. It was really mean. Like, that deck is super fun even if you get it a little bit established. If you get 2 Cavalcades on the field, you've got a very good chance at winning.
I might throw a Cavalcade deck up on Twitter and the Patreon. Not for patrons, just because I've been working on it a little bit. And that deck's really good, but advice if you're playing it out there, mulligan hard, because you need specific pieces. It's not like Mono Red where you're just like, okay, I've got a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, we're good to go. In the Cavalcade deck, you'll be like, is this the right 2-drop? Because they need to play well together.
If you don't have Cavalcade, there's not literally no point to the deck, but you're putting yourself behind if you don't have at least one in your hand at that point.
Your hands with Cavalcade in that deck compared to your hands without Cavalcade are just it's literally night and day.
Yeah. That's the reason I've been playing a different type of aggro deck, which is mono black aggro, which has been sweet, and I love it. And after I realized that my Rakdos Aristocrats deck is not very good, which will take me about another 2 days, I think, of playing it, I'm probably gonna go back to Mono Black because it was just dumpstering people. The biggest problem I saw was I started off with what's his name? Crokeys? It's Crokeys, I think is the guy who originally was playing it. He just shot right to Mythic with it.
I remember seeing that. He just started queuing up with it and just bam, top 100 Mythic, or
he got to Mythic basically the first day the set was legal on MTGA with it. The list had like some really weird card choices. Like there was one Rankle in the 75 instead of, I mean, even like two. Like Rankle's just so good. And then he had the Flash 3/1 Knight that gives a Knight Death Touch and Lifelink. And every time I drew those, I was just like, this is not. It doesn't feel like a constructed playable card. It feels like a draft common or whatever. That's a rare.
I actually got that card in a sealed pool, and it's a bomb in draft because you can trade up a 1/1 for anything on the field after you swing in. But like, yeah, I don't know that I'd be that excited to play that in constructed either.
Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming constructed wise.
Basically, I haven't gotten time to actually tune a new Mono Black list, but I'm really excited to get into it because it seems like one of the few decks that can actually get under the Field of the Dead decks, which is the other thing I've been playing. Is just 4 Golos, 4 Field of the Dead, ramp, and you just do the same Field of the Dead thing.
The Golos decks seem particularly gross. Field of the Dead is still a very good card, and it's even better when games are going long like they are.
Alright, Jordan, you've kind of been neglected when it comes to talking about your decks. Let's hear some of yours.
So I've been bouncing around a little bit. I built a sort of janky Sultai deck that I just sort of took all the cards that I got from my packs and I built that, and I've been messing around with it a little bit, but it really needs 4 Okos. If you're playing blue-green or Sultai, you just run 4 of that card. The thing that I've really been working on was the blue-red draw deck, but it needs some tuning. It's not nearly as powerful as I would like. The thing I've had the most success with has been blue-black. I threw together this blue-black flash kind of, I think it would qualify as blue-black tempo. I'm going to throw the list up on Patreon. It's gross. It's really, really good. So I run out Spectral Sailor early, and that allows me to draw into the late game, and then draw the threats that I need. And I also run Brineborn Cutthroats, and then Brazen Borrower. And those 3 together, just if you're playing like a blue-based deck and you have the space for those, try it out, because you just get to play everything at instant speed and put pressure on your opponent from turn 1. And then this deck also has at the top end Lily and the Lockwane Serpent, I believe is the name of it.
I think it's Lockmere Serpent.
Lockmere Serpent. But yeah, the goal is just kind of to curve out, but also keep my opponent in check. It's a weird deck. I don't know what I qualify it as. I've been calling it blue-black control, because really it is best when it is able to just get a threat down and protect it. So it's kind of like a tempo deck. I don't know what to call it, but it works really well. It's blue-black. It's amazing.
I haven't actually seen your list yet, but I'm excited to try it out at some point. Just the things you've been telling me about it, like, there's probably something there. A lot of people have been trying to make the Flash decks from Last Standard work with, like, the Flash Wolf and
Brineborn Cutthroat, the card that I also have as a 2-drop in my blue-black list.
Yeah, Brineborn. Brineborn Cutthroat is like just an interesting card to build around. I am hesitant to play that into any sort of an Oko meta, which, since we're talking about him, Oko was my number 10 on my list last week, and I said when I was talking about him, I probably should have put him higher. I would probably put that card as like number 2 or number 3 on my list now. It has been so much better and so much more annoying in practice than I ever could have imagined.
With the number of 3 mana Planeswalkers running around, I don't like playing in the list that isn't running 4 Murderous Riders right now. And that's part of the reason I swapped from blue-red to blue-black, is that blue-red cannot deal with the 3 mana Planeswalkers that are in standard right now. It doesn't work. And Oko is the worst of them.
We lost Lightning Strike. I mean, in theory, you could fry them.
You can play Dragon's Fire, but you need, in order to kill an Oko after it upticks to 6.
Yeah, you can't even fry it.
Yeah, you can't fry it. You need fry plus another burn spell. Or you could have a Murderous Rider and just say, it's dead. GG, it's done.
Honestly, with all of these walkers that there are, I think that's why, like, don't get me wrong, Questing Beast is an amazing card as is, but I think that's why it's getting as much play as it is because of its other ability that's, I don't know, I kind of forgot about it because I just let it swing into me a bunch of times, and then I realized I didn't have a Planeswalker afterwards.
I didn't forget about it.
Yeah, I had that happen to me once too, where I forgot what Questing Beast did, and then I lost my Royal Scions because of it. I'm just like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
You can't really chump block it with like 1/1s and stuff.
No, you cannot.
That the deck I'm excited to try because of the way the meta is. I'm gonna go do the standard challenge where you try to get 12 wins to get a card of each one. I'm not playing this, but I was really tempted to. Is green-black aggro. You play Knight of the Ebon Legion and Questing Beast, Murderous Rider, of course, and then you just not tempo. You like just beat their face in. And it's kind of like the mono green mid-range list I put on our Patreon last week, but the black splash is really important. And I haven't seen anyone playing Vivian in it, which seems like just a slam dunk in the list, to be honest. It makes your Questing Beast not only be this this vigilant, death-touching 4/4, it makes it into a 6/6 with trample with all of its abilities.
Seems like a great combo.
And on top of that, you can use it. Vivian's downtick is to deal its damage to a Planeswalker, so like you can double up the damage if you want to do it that way. There's lots of things you can do with Vivian. I'm really excited to explore those.
Any more decks? Because I wanted to bring up a quick question to you guys if we're done with decks.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
All right. So, is there any cards that have surprised you going into the first week of Standard here?
Edgewall Innkeeper, I think is what it's called. The 1-drop for 1 green that whenever you do an adventure, it draws a card. That saw 100% more play than I thought it would. I did not expect to see it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I saw that too in a draft, and I'm like, whoa, this card is very good.
Yeah, it's a sweet card.
There was this Jund Adventures deck, and I can't remember who was playing it in fandom, so my apologies to whoever made that list, but it just played one of Jordan's top 10 cards, the Lucky Clover, in that card, so you're doubling up on all of your adventures, and then they're also making you draw. And I think the way the triggers work is like you draw 2 if they Lucky Clover. I don't know, though.
Well, Lucky Clover says if you cast an instant or sorcery that's an adventure, you copy it. And this says whenever you cast a creature that has an adventure, draw a card.
The way that deck works, yeah, is you use Lucky Clover to double up your adventures, and then the Innkeeper on the other side draws you a card every time you play the creature part of the adventure cards, and then you just churn through your deck so quickly. It's kind of like Jund in Modern, where it's just like you can just outdraw all of your opponents while continuously keeping up creature threats.
Yeah, which is really powerful. I wish that deck was in a format without Field of the Dead, because I think it would be a real player, and I think Field of the Dead just invalidates it.
You can run Field of the Dead in that deck.
You could. I'm just mad because I'm excited to go play my Golos deck and play Field of the Dead, but it just feels like the entire format is warped around this. Like, there's even this Dance of the Mance deck that I was really excited to go put in the rares and play it, and then it just fell off the face of the earth. And I was wondering why no one was playing it when Brian had so much success with it. And it turns out Golos is just a better game plan. It doesn't matter that they make a bunch of 4/4s on your instep because you already have like 16 zombies at that point.
Yeah. Golos and Field of the Dead together is just a better engine than what most people are doing.
There's also just no way to turn it off anymore. We used to have Blood Sun and Alpine Moon, and those are gone now.
Yeah, that is also a big problem.
Yeah, and no Field of Ruin. There was no replacement reprinted, so your basically only chance of getting rid of it is to unmortigo it before they play them. But if they have that in their opening hand and they just start off with tap Field of the Dead for their first turn, you're fighting an uphill battle the whole time.
That's part of the thing that I've liked about my blue-black deck, is that when I end up in a situation where my opponent has a better engine than me, I have so many flyers in the deck that I can just swing in and kill them. before it becomes a problem usually.
I kind of wish Arclight Phoenix was still a card that could be played in Standard, because there's some people who have been trying builds. I don't think they're quite good enough to be played in Standard.
I've tried to make it work. It's too slow. It just...
Yeah, the like turn 4 kills with Arclight Phoenix back when you could actually have an Electromancer like stick, that was the type of thing that would keep down a deck like Field of the Dead. Those decks would be having trouble because you really don't have a lot of interaction in the deck and you don't have space for it. But
that's the main issue, is that it's kind of a more mid-rangey deck and it's a little bit slower, so you kind of need to be able to keep up pressure because you don't have a lot of removal.
Yeah, and Mono Red's just not quick enough to stop it.
Sadly, there's not much to answer. Like, right now I'm only seeing Assassin's Trophy, and there is Bedazzle, but it's also 6 mana.
Or you can Unmortigo it.
Trophy's probably the best answer I could think of, is play like Sultai and Trophy it, and Unmortigo also backs that up. I mean, like, there's Ashiok too, but that leads us towards, like, this green-blue based, like...
Yeah, it's really awkward, honestly.
Well, it leans into Oko, which is the other card that I'm just kind of like, this card is too much. If you have not played against Oko yet, ooh, that card. Jordan was talking about his Brineborn Cutthroat deck, and I'm just sitting over there like, well, what happens if they Oko your Brineborn Cutthroat into a 3/3, and then it's tiny?
That's one of the main issues that I've been running into with the deck, or not issues, but one of the things I'm worried about, because where I'm at, I've seen a lot of dance decks, and the deck's been doing well. I think I've run against a Fires of Invention deck or two. I've run into one blue-green deck, and luckily I just had Murderous Rider. That's the problem, is that it forces me to have Murderous Rider, basically. And a lot of decks, that's kind of how it is. It's like, you have to remove Oko the turn it hits. Otherwise, you are just going to start losing. Within 2 turns, you will have lost the game. Not necessarily that you're dead on board, but just they're so far ahead, there's not really a way for you to get back into the game short of exile all non-land permanents.
I think that the best card that I'm excited to look into to stop a lot of these combos is Planar Cleansing.
Yes, that's the card I was talking about.
Yeah, it just gets rid of everything. Destroy all non-land permanents. But even that against the Field of Dead decks is kind of weak because it doesn't actually remove the field. They get a single land and they'll probably get a couple zombies back, and you also have nothing because it's symmetrical. You also get board wiped.
Just a quick thought that I was thinking of, and it's a card that I've not seen a single word spoken about since it was spoiled in M20, but Tail's End might be something to look at coming up.
Can you read the card for me? What does it do?
Tail's End says, 1 in a blue instant, counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell.
The only problem with that versus the Golos decks is that they make too many triggers. If you had like a summary dismissal, that could get you enough time to get into it, but just countering one of the triggers isn't enough, I don't think.
Well, you can counter the Golos trigger, or just Golos himself, because he's legendary.
Golos is legendary, so you can just stop them from fetching in general. That's something I've run into, is that if you can board wipe their Golos and they don't have anything in hand, Rankle's been really good for me against those decks, because you can just get them empty-handed, and lands are something they want to hold in their hands so they can get more field triggers, so if you have a way to make them discard everything, you kind of have a game plan. I don't think there's any instant speed way to make them discard right now, except for like Thought Erasure from Teferi.
The other thing you can do, and this is dangerous, is you need Legion's End for sure. If you're in black anyway. If you're doing anything else, like if you're in red, I guess you can play Flame Sweep and just remove the zombies, and then you just have to kill them before they can get their engine back up. But it's hard because every land they draw off the top is going to get them 1, 2, 3 zombies. It's just, it's a tough situation. But we can continue to talk about the meta for literally hours to try to theory craft and stuff. So we should probably move on. I want to answer Justin's question of what cards caught me off guard. 2 that I did not even think about is the lands, not the common ones, because I was thinking those were really good. I wasn't realizing how powerful the castles are. The blue and black castle, just playing one, I only play like two, or I think I play two of each in my blue-black deck. When I draw them, I'm always happy. They always come in untapped. And I know from then on, I'm not going to draw any dead draws. With the scry off the two scrying off of the blue, I just never draw dead draws. It just doesn't happen. Because once I have that 4 mana to dump into it, I just keep scrying away bad stuff. It's amazing.
The upkeep Castle Vantress trigger is just... Upkeep Scry 2 is really powerful. It's basically drawing a card. It's not physically drawing a card, but the card advantage you get, the quality, the fact that you can just dig for answers, it's really, really incredible. And the really annoying thing for me, at least, is they're not legendary.
No, they're not.
Why are they not legendary?
I don't know why they're not legendary, because they want us to be able to scry... Like, scry 4 for 8 is not an effect I would play, but if I'm just, like, have no cards in hand and want to end step scry 4, yeah, I would do that for a land slot. Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with them, is that they're basically free. Like, the Castle Locthwain, it's 3 mana tap it, draw a card, then you lose life equal the number of cards you have in hand. When you're in a top deck war, you're just drawing 1 more card than your opponent every turn. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's very good. I've looked at them, and I would definitely say the black one's the most powerful, just because of the late game potential you have on it.
Well, and even the red one, Castle Embereth, I think is probably the worst one, maybe?
I've got by that before.
The white one's probably the worst of them all. It's just a worse Legion's Landing.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, it also, you don't have to have a condition on it. So if you are in an aggressive white deck, you just get that for free, basically.
Yeah, you can just play like 16 planes and then 4 white castles, and you're good to go. You don't even affect your mana at all, because you're very rarely going to have a 1-lander where it's your only land. The black one has really impressed me as well. Jordan's been using it in more grindy decks like his tempo deck, but I really love it in the mono black aggro lists. It just makes it so that you can end step, lose a life, draw a card, pretty much every single turn when you're empty-handed.
Yeah, because you just toss your hand onto the field so quickly in that deck. It's just, you don't ever take that much damage from it.
I've also, like, end step activated it and taken, like, 4 damage off of it against control decks, because your life total doesn't matter that much.
And that's the thing with that one specifically, is I found even in a grindier deck, I've wanted to use it when I have had 3 cards in hand, because on average, their deck is usually slower than mine, so they're not really pressuring my life total. So I'm just able to get a little bit of card advantage and say, well, I'm okay taking 3 here because I'm still at 20. It's like turn 10.
Also, food just often gives you incidental gain 3 life anyway, so...
Yeah, it's true.
It's annoying.
The amount, I kind of knew that aggro would have a problem because of food. I think it's a problem for aggro that's bigger than I thought it would be. It's kind of like back in the Eldritch Moon days when you're like, oh, well, clues are a thing. So pretty much everyone just has late game action, because you're just drawing a bunch of cards.
Food really feels a lot like clues or energy, and it's very similar to where it's just like, it's just this resource that you just sort of get. It's just have them laying around. And that's kind of what we said when we were going in our top 10s and like our previews of the set, is that it seems like food just kind of accumulates over the game. Like, you have some cards that are dedicated to giving it to you, like Oko, but like there's just so many cards that just have it stapled on there. Like, I'm looking at Gingerbread Cabin right now, the common land, the forest, and it's just like, oh, it just late game, it just gets you a food.
Yeah, I was playing it in draft, and it was actually coming in kind of clutch.
I really hope that the listeners can't hear Gizmo meowing right now, because he's going nuts. Hold up one sec. Hello, this is Jordan from the future. The conversation kind of abruptly ended or transitioned because I had to stop to go comfort my cat, who was meowing pretty loudly, so that's why this gets a little weird here. Sorry about that.
So you guys are talking about the castles, and it makes me think of a land that probably should be legendary. You know what other land should be legendary? Valakut. So let's talk about Modern.
You know what other thing should be legendary? Mystic Sanctuary? Is that what it's called? The pauper fucking staple?
No legendary.
No, it should not
commons.
be. It should not be legendary. It's perfect just the way it is.
Mystic Sanctuary? Oh, so you like being Cryptic commanded out of the game?
Oh, yeah.
No, I would never do that to someone.
I think it's not being talked about enough, but you know what else is an instant or sorcery? Terminus.
Yeah.
No. I want to paint this because this happened on Friday. I played Modern on Friday, played my Jund deck, was very happy. Didn't do very well, went 2-2 because I'm a ballerina. But there were 2 people who showed up with Cryptic command decks with that land. It makes it so on turn 4, you don't get to play the game anymore. Every single turn, they are going to cast Cryptic command to counter and tap down your team. Do you like playing creatures in Modern? Congrats, you hate this land. It has made it so that you cannot play against Cryptic command decks without graveyard hate.
Sounds like you're saying next episode we should unban Cryptic.
You remember when I said that it would be disgusting in legacy formats? Yeah, it's
disgusting.
The other thing that I've seen people do with it is put it in blue-white turns, and I think the people who are using Cryptic command for it are they're not seeing the potential. Like, this card just gives blue-white turns the consistency to constantly hit its turns. It's needed that for forever. Like, I think that deck just might actually be meta now. Like, it could easily become a turn 1 tier 1 deck.
I really like the idea of casting Savor the Moment a few times. That's just me.
Yeah.
I don't think Savor the Moment has really been played very much in Modern, but that card is just asking to be broken. Just do something like I think it was LSV posted a list where he's playing Jeskai turns, he's playing Fires of Invention, so that Savor the Moment is an extra turn for 3. Because you can cast 2 things off of Fires.
So, red-blue turns, like kind of Blue Moon style? Let's make it happen.
The gross thing with Fires is, like, you can play Blood Moon, play the Fires, and you can be locked out with, like, you don't even have to use your fetches to get basics.
It's true, yeah. Like, you can lock your opponent out and just know that you're going to draw Fires and be able to cast 2 spells a turn anyway, because you're going to keep hitting your land drops, I imagine.
Yeah. You can cast them with the Blood Moon out because you don't need blue mana to cast Fires of Invention.
Yeah, it's annoying.
I think this all seems completely fair and not like this set was broken in the slightest.
Yeah, let's not even talk
No
about
such thing.
Iron Crag Feet, by the way, has seen some play, and it's not okay.
You know what else isn't okay? Can I get into... Justin, actually, before I say this, you might want to go off if you have any jank, because this will take a moment to talk about.
I'll pass on this one.
Okay. You know what else has been seeing some play, and I think it's absolutely busted? Jeskai Ascendancy. Emory has made that deck so sweet, and after we're done with this podcast, I'm about to go re-up my card hoarder account and go play with it, because it looks gross. It's looking like not quite to KCI levels of consistency, but it has a lot of similarities with the deck.
Every deck I see with Emory in it is just getting closer and closer to being absolutely disgusting. Just to describe some of the turns you can do in Emory, with this Jeskai Ascendancy deck. It plays 2 Mox Ambers and some Baubles, okay? You play the Bauble, you play the Mox Amber, those are both 0 cost. You play an Island. Turn 1 Emory. Then your Mox Amber taps for blue now because Emory's legendary. You can then cast a Serum Vision, set up your draws. You can do paradoxical outcome things from there. But that's like a turn 1. Turn 1, you have an Emory and 2 artifacts out.
Mm-hmm.
One of which, Mishra's Bauble, you can sacrifice and reuse over and over with the Emory when she doesn't have Summoning Sickness anymore, which triggers Jeskai Ascendancy.
So say you fetch shock, get a Steam Vents, play your Emory, play your Mox Amber, play your Bauble, turn 2, fetch shock, get your white source going, tap for red, tap for white, play your Jeskai Ascendancy, then play a Bauble, your other, actually you would have to hold the Bauble in hand, but you get what I'm saying. You play your Bauble and you go off.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to have the Bauble in hand. You do this on turn 1. You play the Mox Amble, you play the Bauble, you play an island, you play Emory, you play a fetch, you crack it for a red-white land.
Exactly. So you play your Jeskai Sensei turn 2 because you have the ramp from Mox Amber, and then you're just going to go off. Once you have those 3 pieces, you win the game from there because you get to draw your deck with the Mishra's Bauble. Because every time you play the Mishra's Bauble, you
untap Emory, yeah.
Mishra's Bauble doesn't draw you a card immediately. It draws you a card on the next upkeep. But luckily for you, Jeskai Ascendancy loots on its own.
So you draw your deck, yeah.
Yeah, you can just draw your deck.
Through your entire deck.
Let's say, and then, you could always Labo just to be fun.
You could Labo, or the thing is, the Jeskai Ascendancy triggers makes Emory giant. You can make her infinitely big.
So you don't have to. That's literally just lethal if your opponent doesn't have a blocker. If they do have a blocker, you play Pyrite Spellbomb and bring it back infinite times. Because the loot is a May, so you don't actually have to loot through your entire deck. You loot until you find the Spellbomb, if they do have a blocker, and then just kill them. You get to do KCI things again. It's crazy.
You do need the red mana, though, for Pyrite Spellbomb.
Yes, but the deck also runs Fate Stitcher, so if you draw your deck, you can eventually just get back a Fate Stitcher, because you're making, through this, you can also eventually just make infinite mana.
Oh, you could just use Panic Spellbomb. What am I thinking?
Basically, once you set up a combo like this, there are thousands of ways for you to just win the game.
Let's say Panic Spellbomb's just the easiest, because it just sacks to make a creature can't block that turn.
Yeah, you could do that as well. I think Pyrite Spellbomb's probably the easiest, because you're just going to recur it, and because you can just demonstrate the loop. You go, I'm going to return this infinite times, I deal 20 damage to you and win the game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't die to a fatal push.
That's just one deck with Emory, by the way. We've talked for, I think it's around 10 minutes right now, about one single interaction with Emory. There's also a mono blue, like, Affinity style list with, like, Mox Opal and Mox Amber and Emory. And it does similar things where you're just infinitely bringing back Mishra's Bauble, infinitely bringing back Mox Opal and Mox Amber.
Yeah.
Because once you have an Emory and you have a legendary artifact that makes mana, you have infinite mana effectively. You just need a way to untap her.
You know, my favorite thing about this deck is that I have all the pieces except for Mox Amber, and I don't have to play Mox Opal in it, so yay.
I think that's the best part for everybody, is just not having to play Mox Opal in an artifact deck.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I'm still just kind of upset that they keep making artifact payoffs.
Yeah.
It seems like artifacts are always one of the most broken card types in Magic. They know this. They've made sets around artifacts. Kaladesh, both the Mirrodin blocks, both of them have been broken and needed bannings. And then in the last, 3 sets, they've printed just more and more artifact payoffs.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Affinity and Standard right now, just because Emory and Mystic Forge are just really fun.
It's such a cool combo. I bet you could play that in Modern, too.
Yeah, in Standard, it's like, okay, well, that's just a fun combo. It's not even consistent enough to really break the format. It's good. You can play it. But those cards also go into those cards also go into Eternal formats and make us do restricting things in Vintage and bannings in Legacy, I'm sure, at some point, because, oh man, artifacts are just, they just keep getting better.
I like when they're like, hey guys, we got Karn, awesome artifact card. And Emery's like, hold my drink, please.
That's the silly thing about Karn, is, I think they made it and they're like, okay, so this is like an artifact card, but it also turns off artifacts, so it's like, you can play them against each other and it stops them, and it's like, that's not fun. I don't know what you guys were thinking.
I love in Magic when no one gets to actually use their cards.
Yeah.
I think that's... the other one I wanted to talk about is that since Modern's a little more fair now, I think you could actually play the Ironcrag deck.
Can I quickly stop you there? We just got on a 10-minute conversation about how broken this one card that is warping Modern and every other Legacy, and you're like, and Modern's looking fair.
He's right, though. He's not wrong.
You know, this is going to be a back behind the scenes moment. I wish I could cut that, but I can't.
I mean, you could always restart it. You could always try and restart it.
Maybe I'll figure out a way. So we just talked for 10 minutes about one card from Eldraine in Modern. Are there any other ones? Like
Once Upon a Time?
Once Upon a Time's a thing.
Let's
Yeah.
not talk about that card
so-
again. We talked about that card like 4 times at this
It's
point.
so good.
I'm pretty sure this could be changed to the Once Upon a Time podcast.
We're the Once Upon a Time podcast. If you're playing green in Standard, you should play 4 Once Upon a Times. If you're playing green in Modern, you should think about it. I'm thinking about it in Jund, which is silly because Jund doesn't like cards like that, but it just seems that good.
Yeah. I misspoke on the last podcast. I think it was the last podcast. It was whenever we were discussing this card, and I said it's a Sylvan Scrying. No, it's not a Sylvan Scrying. I meant it's a Sylvan Library on turn 1, essentially, because it's just, I'm just gonna fix my draws. That's like, I've also seen some people in Standard do a turn 1 Phoenix, and that's actually more consistent in Modern. I'm sure. It's like, there's some insanely powerful things you can do with that card. And
I want to see someone, Simian Spirit Guide, play this card, get a land off of it, play the land, play Manamorphose, freaking Cathartic Reunion. I want to see that. It's magical Christmas land, but it could happen, and I want it to happen.
Yeah, you can play in Dredge, can't you? That's
you could.
really good too.
You could just, like, Cathartic Reunion, instead of doing Phoenixes, do like Stinkweed Imps, and that might even be better than Phoenixes.
We need to stop though, because we could talk about that card forever. Let's move on to like something else in Modern.
I actually do just want to bring up one more quick thing about Once Upon a Time. So
Okay.
it actually kind of pertains to the title of the podcast. Does this warrant a Green Sun Zenith Unbanned? Because they've printed a better Green Sun Zenith and also this.
I think that would be a reason to not unban Green Sun Zenith, because I don't think Green needs any more card selection after this. They've got this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what portion of having a free cantrip allows us to unban a green card that gives every green deck consistent turn 1 ramp, and also searches for a lot of toolbox answers. Those are very different cards that do different things. They're not used the same way.
I actually think that you're not the only one who would feel that way. There's a lot of people who think that Green Sun Zenith should be unbanned. I think that they are incorrect. It's not a good card to have in Modern, just because getting an extra land on turn 1 is really batty. Like, it's a lot better than a lot of people give it credit for. Starting turn 1 and being on turn 2, that's a big deal.
I think Finale of Devastation was them kind of going, hey, you want Green Sun Zenith? Here's our little test run. We're going to see how this does. And it made like 6 decks more consistent with really quick combos. And I don't think it's a bad card to have in the format. I think it's actually quite interesting. But it's definitely a lower power level than Green Sun Zenith. And it's seeing a lot of play. It has given the Devoted Druid decks a lot of different avenues to play their game, and I don't think that deck needs very many more to just be too powerful. The other thing is, I think that a lot of cards on the ban list, they mentioned this when they unbanned Stoneforge Mystic. The farther we go, the more powerful the format gets. Emory is a good example of this, where it's just, okay, we push the envelope a little bit farther, artifact decks are a little bit stronger. If it doesn't end up resulting in a ban, maybe we can look at unbanning Splinter Twin, because Emory's just a faster combo piece. Splinter Twin is much less powerful.
I'm wondering if we might finally see the Mythical Twin unban. I can't wait for the episode where we get to say we unban Splinter Twin. I hope it happens.
So I have to say, I've got 8 sitting, waiting for it as well.
We do too.
Yeah, we got our playsets too, just in case.
I don't care if I sold my Scalding Tarns for freaking Verdant Catacombs. I will buy 4 new ones to play Temur Twin.
I was about to say, it's almost an idea just to buy the Splinter Twin deck right now while it's as cheap as it's ever going to be.
Oh yeah, Foiled Deceiver
Just in
Exarch
case.
will go through the roof.
I have a question. Has anyone been paying attention to... This is an artifact, so I don't want to take us down another artifacts or broken rabbit hole, but Stone Coil Serpent, has anyone seen that show up in like the Hardened Scales Affinity deck or anything like that? Because it seems just like at least a good one of in that deck. Just because it works with hardened scales and it doesn't cost as much mana, so you can get it to be bigger, and it also has protection from multicolor. It just seems like it could work, like just as a 1 or 2 of. I don't think it's good enough to replace either of the other cards, but
looking at MTG Goldfish, we have one result with the card. It's in Simic Trollgak, which is I don't know who True Dawn is. I don't know what their actual name is, but they played it in the Fandom Legends tournament on the 26th, and they were playing like a Reanimated style list with Feasting Troll King, where you just try to kind of like throw away Feasting Troll King and then bring it back.
So yeah, no one's really experimenting with it in Modern then yet. I'm sure someone will. So we've talked about Eldraine in Modern, we've talked about in Standard, we've talked about what we're playing and how the format goes, and how the format is going as we see it. Let's talk about some controversy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The lovely Collector's Edition.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there is an Eldraine Collector's Edition. I think it's sold out now. So if you want to get it, you're too late.
To clarify as well, these are not the similarly named Collector's Boxes of Collector's Boosters. This is a separate product.
So Wizards just making it as confusing as possible to buy their stuff by using similar names. So what this is it's like when EA releases one of their new big games, right? They always have a collector's edition with a bunch of random stuff with it. That's what this is, but for Magic. I'll read off what this has in it. Each deluxe edition, as they call it, or it's deluxe edition and collector's, is it? Oh my god.
So they didn't name it the same thing.
My bad. It's a deluxe edition. It just is a collector's edition.
It's basically like if you were to buy Diablo 3, there's a collector's edition of that. It's that, but for Magic boxes.
And they call it a deluxe edition. Never mind, I got it mixed up before because it is a collector's edition. That's what it is. Because it has 16 Throne of Eldraine collector boosters, a set-themed binder, 1 foil Garruk Cursed Huntsman, and the borderless version of that card that you can also get in the collector's boosters, I believe.
Yep.
And then 1 art print of that same Planeswalker, which is pretty cool, to be fair. 1 non-foil version of the Buy a Box Kenrith, the Return King.
Non-foil.
Yeah, you don't get the foil one. They wanted to leave that for the Buy a Box. That way you have to buy the box, and then buy this box, and then buy the other box.
Don't quote me on this, but I think this is also the only non-foil printing of Kenrith, which I will talk about in a second.
I did watch somebody pull a non-foil Kenrith out of a collector's booster.
Okay, good.
But this is a guaranteed way to get, which is a big deal. And then a 3x3 card strip from a foil sheet. So you don't get the whole foil sheet, just a 3x3 strip of it.
It's an uncut sheet that's been cut.
Yeah, it's such a weird include. And then 1 MTG Arena Mega Code card, which gives a sleeve that you can only get from this, I believe. The digital Garruk Exquisite sleeve. It's like the Exquisite Chandra sleeve that they had, but for Garruk. But you don't get it from actually playing the game. You have to buy this thing. I think it's the only place you get it. And then a copy of each of the following cards for MTG Arena: a Garruk Cursed Huntsman, a Charming Prince, a Magic Mirror, a Witch's Vengeance, Bone Crusher Giant, and a Questing Beast. Let's get some guesses. Do you guys have it in front of you? I want to see if you can guess the price of this thing.
I know the price, so I will not guess.
Oh, man. I didn't
Justin,
know.
how much is this all going to run you?
It was so obnoxious. Like, I almost want to say $350, but I think I'm like really low on that. It's like $450, isn't it?
It's $450.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the price of my PlayStation 4 Pro is how much this costs. The price of like a mid-tier computer or like a really cheap car is how much this costs.
So let's say I paid $150 more for my PC. Or $100 more, I think.
Here, wait. I'm going to pull up the reserve list really quick.
You can get a tropical island for this.
Yeah,
essentially. You can get an underground sea. I think you can get 2 tropical islands if you're not picky about the printing and the condition.
Yo, you want a city of traders?
Hold on. Things you can get for the $450 price. A complete standard deck. You can get standard Golos for this price. You can get most commander decks. I have an Alluro deck I'm building my girlfriend. It is less than the price of this. And it has like all the fixings, like fetch lands, all of that. my Lands Commander deck, which has, like, a Demonic Tutor, it's got Thespian Stage, freaking Dark Depths, it's got Glacial Chasm, it's got all of the lands interactions you would want in a Lands Commander deck. It is less than this stupid box.
You can almost buy a playset of Plateau.
You can buy 4 Scalding Tarns in Modern, which is something we complain about being too expensive all the time, for the price of this box.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I want to go through the items really quick, and let's like break down the actually what your 450 gets you. So the collector boosters,
they're $25 a piece, by the way.
Are expensive, right? But like 16 of them, doing some basic math, I don't think.
So 16 times 25, we got 400 right there.
So that's 400. So at least you're basically getting your money's worth, but it's like you're paying $50 for a binder, a foil borderless card.
So yeah, 16 collector's boosters in a display pack, like one box of them, is currently going for $3.19 on TCG Player. So like, if you got this for the cost, just the boosters put you over. But the thing is,
the rest of it is just sort of tat, is the thing.
Yeah.
Well, like, that code, what's the actual price to get all those cards? It's effectively like 5 rares, a mythic, and a...
The code is basically not worth money, because all of those you can get with wild cards for free. I mean, you get the card styles with them, which could be expensive if you want those, but like, I'm not even debating necessarily whether it's worth the money, though, because I think it is equal value-ish, but it's more that we're charging $450 for... So the extra $100 you pay on top of this basically gets you a bunch of stuff that looks cool, which for Magic players is a big deal. Magic players love to bling out their decks, so a lot of people will be drawn to this, but it's like, some of these, like, the non-foil version of the Kenrith Return King...
It's weird.
That's really weird that this card that you can pull from the collector's boosters is one of the draws of this thing. And then also the card strip from a foil sheet. Why not? I mean, I understand why they're not going to just give a foil sheet, but basically my point is I don't understand why this exists. Who asked for a collector's edition of the sets? Like, are collectors really looking for more things to spend their money on?
Yeah, I think the main problem I feel from this, by the way, right now, if you want to buy a collector's edition on TCG Player, is $7.90 plus $25 shipping.
Oh yeah, and then there's that thing as well, where the secondary market just ate these things up. Like, I guarantee you half of them were bought by speculators.
I cannot actually find anywhere to buy it, just the code. So, yeah, I wanted to see if that was selling for like $5 or something.
It'd be worth a little more than $5. Just the card styles themselves would be worth like 10 or 15, I think.
Oh, that's right. They're card styles. They're not even the actual cards.
No, you get a copy of each of the cards and the card style.
Oh, one copy of each. Okay, I read that.
So it's like, it's worth the amount of money if you want those things, but it's just like, why does this exist? Because all the pieces of this, the art print for the borderless Garrick, why not just sell that in a store? Like, why not just let me buy that from Wizards? If I want that, just let me buy that. Why do I have to get it in stupid deluxe edition? A set-themed binder. For the set-themed binder, Wizards and Ultra Pro already sell those. You can buy them. So this is just a different version of those, I'm sure.
The binder is not going to be sold anywhere else.
But why make it exclusive? The only reason is to do the Supreme thing, to drive false scarcity. They could make 1 million of those. It's all a scam. This whole thing is just a scam. Because it's like the MTG Arena codes. It's like the digital Garrick's Exquisite sleeve. They could have just put that in the MTGA shop, but they didn't.
I think that's kind of the issue with it, is like, the price is already really high. Yeah, if we break it down piece by piece, you probably get your money's worth. But the biggest issue with it is, like, Magic is already a game of, like, fake exclusive things where there's promos, there's judge promos, there's all these things that are, like, limited on purpose. And then on top of that, we're taking things that normally wouldn't be, binders and, like, an uncut sheet framed and, like, an art print, things that normally would just be bought on a website.
I mean, the foil sheet you, like, usually can't get. That's, like, the one thing in this that I think is actually collectible. The rest of it's just, it's fake. It's 100% made up as far as being collectible.
Foil sheets have lost a lot of their allure. Try if you want to do a very expensive and very annoying experiment, go get a foil sheet from a Grand Prix. Get your ticks, play in the side events, get a foil sheet. Try to sell it. You can't. No one wants them. The only people who want them just get them.
Yeah, they just get them from the... If it's a foil sheet you want, you just go and do the side events and get it over that weekend. You just put in the work. People don't really buy those for a huge price.
10 years ago, a foil uncut sheet was like a rarity because they didn't release them. Now, you go to a Grand Prix, you can get one pretty easily, you just have to play a bunch.
You just put in the work one weekend, you can get one. Or buy something from them, have them mess it up, and then you'll get one mailed to you for free because Wizards doesn't know how to sell things, apparently.
Basically what I'm saying is, like, a lot of the stuff in this thing that is supposed to be fancy and exclusive, kind of like the Comic-Con promos and all that, they aren't that cool. It doesn't feel like I'm getting a deal by buying it for $4.50, even though when you break it down, it's actually worth the money. It just feels like BS. It feels like they're just releasing another product that they really don't need to because apparently they didn't make enough money off the box sales or the collector's edition boosters, which they just barely released. They decided to put another new collector's edition that's called a different thing on top of the collector's boosters.
Also, you have to put in consideration that they just literally multiplied the amount of uncut sheets that are out now because of the whole War of the Spark Mythic Edition debacle.
Yeah,
so
true.
The sheet is like, I wouldn't call it worthless. Like on eBay right now, like every single listing except the one I've seen has been for the War of the Spark sheet, and they're all selling for $100.
So if you really want an uncut sheet, though, you could have a War of the Spark one for $100 right now. Like, you don't even have to buy this.
Yeah, for a quarter of the price.
That's the thing, though, is it's kind of weird that they are... It's like something that they used to have that was special, and now they're just using it to make money, basically.
Full art cards used to be, or borderless cards used to be a really big deal, and now they're just not anymore.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, here's this cool thing that we did. Now we're just going to give it to you over and over and over again.
I guess that's kind of it, is it's not special anymore. I didn't even care about missing this because I'm like, there'll be one next set, probably. Maybe I'll get that one. Probably not, because I don't want to spend $500 on cardboard I don't need, but for a little bit of context, I don't even really buy foils. They don't trigger the same bit of happiness in me that they trigger in other people for some reason.
The sheet is kind of just a slap on at this point. Like, okay, we're out of ideas. Uncut sheet. There we go.
I think the biggest thing from this is I'm like, I want Wizards to have cool products that I'm interested in spending my money on. I think the biggest problem with this is that it's $450. There's very few people who are willing to pay that, especially for this stuff. It's just like...
It's also limited release. So, like, it's not just exorbitantly expensive. There's only 1,000 of them. So even if I wanted to spend my money on this and give Wizards my money, I can't. It's not a deal. Like, we were talking about how it's worth the money, but it doesn't matter if it's worth the money if I can't buy it.
Yeah, and for $450, like, this game's already expensive. If you're buying singles and you're buying, like, the occasional booster draft, it's like, you can easily spend $100 a month just on that. And it's like if you're doing that, you don't have the money for this. I am convinced this is only for speculators. That's who this is for.
Well, it's for people who have the money to spend on it, but how it works is, you know, if a Bugatti gets put on sale for $100,000 less, doesn't mean I can now buy a Bugatti.
Well, and I'm just looking at it and I'm like, so if this is like a supplement to the collector boosters, which are already a specialized product, why not just sell it for like, I don't know, $60 more? The extra $100 on top just seems ridiculous to me. $450 for this? It seems quite greedy to me. Is basically why I'm ranting against this. I'm just like,
well, it's business as well.
And I understand Wizards has to make money, but apparently they're not having a problem with that. MTGA is making them so much money. Magic is apparently as big as it's ever been.
I think I kind of ran into it as to why this product bothers me so much. Is it's just like, I might want to shell out $450 for this. Like, I might actually do that. But the issue is because they just released it on their website for like one day and then it sold out, I can't give them my money. Mm-hmm. I think it frustrates me so much because I really don't understand the point. Wizards released their form. It's the same thing as the Mythic editions. Is that what they were called the last time?
Yes.
Yeah, the Mythic editions, where it's like, okay, I can understand doing a special product at the release, like maybe have people pre-order them and only make that many. But I don't understand why it's so low supply that people literally can't give you their money because there's not enough of them. That doesn't make any sense to me. If you're trying to make a product to make money, and you're like, okay, we're going to release this additional product that's definitely special, very pretty. We're going to market it at the people with extra money. It's not for everyone. You don't have to have this. Then make it an open release where we put out to demand. Put up orders for like a week and see how many people order it and then make that many.
I can also see how that might not make it special, but it's like 1,000? Really? You're going... Apparently 20 million people in the world play this game.
20 million? Are you joking? They made 300 million accounts on MTGA. We're probably up to like more than that casually.
And it's like, so 1,000 for that many? Come on, like at least do a little more than that. Do a limited release if you have to, but make it more than 1,000.
Just put it up for a week. Be like, okay, you can order this for a week. We're going to produce as many orders as you receive in that week, and after that, it's done.
And also make it not $450. Like, for all of this, I think maybe...
Make it $450. But, like, it's so anti-consumer to be like, oh, we're just going to do it for 1,000 people. Even if it's limited to a day, why is it 1,000? Why are you limiting yourself that much on your product? It doesn't make any sense from a money-making standpoint. It just frustrates people. It's like when Nintendo... This is a complete side event, but Nintendo made these NESs and SNESs, these little, like, minis that had all the old games on them, and they only produced, like, 2 per store or whatever, and they sold out immediately, and everyone's like, we want to give you our money, but you didn't make enough product. And there's literally no reason to do it.
But anyway, I think, is that about all we've got to say about this? It's not a good product. I don't understand why they would do this. Please just make things that people want to buy and actually supply them.
The funny thing is, we were talking about controversy. I thought we were bringing up a completely different controversy when it came to collector's boosters.
Oh, the mappableness?
The fact that the packs are potentially mappable. Like, I've been looking up a couple things saying that these are potentially mappable packs and everything. I'm like, Wizards, please. We're trying to love you.
Wizards of the Coast gameplay design team, you guys are doing great so far.
Are they? We just talked about how broken some of the cards are.
Yeah, maybe reevaluate some of these cards just a little bit.
Hey, Story Crew, you're doing great.
Oh, no, wait, Story Crew. Never mind.
Calm down with the artifacts R&D. Come on, marketing. We're trying to pay you money here. And Story, you're doing great.
I don't even know how their structure works, but like Wizards, we want to love you. Please make it easier for us. Just in general.
It feels like I'm trying to give you guys a pass, but I realize that the more I talk about you, the more I'm like, okay, some of this stuff just needs a change.
All right, it sounds like we're going to be the Unbanned Guzma podcast next week. We're going to be talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, just quit Magic right now. It's over. Why would I even play it anymore? It's not, like, after this, it's not even fun. After the collector's boosters, nah. You know, I said that sarcastically, but there's some people who actually have that reaction. Like, I'm out after this.
I have a lot of opinions about the collector's boosters, and we should do an episode where we talk about some of this.
But yeah, just a quick thought. Mappable packs were as recent as Eldritch Moon, where they screwed up and put like all the good stuff in the Liliana packs. You remember that? Like everybody was like, I want a Liliana pack.
I don't know how that even happens. Like, I know they have, it's sort of a false randomness because some cards appear more often. There's some rares that are more rare. I don't know.
Yeah, they've got their tracks. They've got their A, B, C, and D tracks. This is actually, I was watching a video today on it about like how packs can actually be mappable. Is that they have like the good stuff in A, then the decent stuff in B, then the stuff in C, and then the bad rares, the dubious challenges in D. And D's are just more frequently put in packs than C's, B's, and A's. And obviously, as they go further up, they get harder to get in packs. Like, I think Fatal Push was actually in like an A track for Aether Revolt at the end of printing.
They aren't supposed to do this because of the way their rarities are like actually structured. You're supposed to, commons are supposed to be common, uncommons are supposed to be uncommon, rares are supposed to be rare, and then mythics are the rarest. But the way they actually do it is they don't randomize based on the rarity on the card, which is, in my opinion, disingenuous, but they've been doing it for years, so I guess get used to it.
But yeah, it was like when Aether Revolt came out, you get like 4 Fatal Pushes a box. And then at the end of the print cycle, it was strange, you're only getting 1 or 2 a box after that. So it was kind of sketchy in my opinion, but yeah, it's just like mapping stuff is actually kind of, I don't want to call it expected. It's going to happen.
Yeah, someone's going to try to figure it out.
It's hard to produce your cards in a way like we just described and not have mapping be an issue every once in a while. But I can tell you, do you know how you could actually fix this, Wizards? I'll tell you right now. Just make mythics, rares, uncommons, and commons, and then randomize them. That's the best way to stop mapping, is to just randomize it.
But then they wouldn't be able to control the secondary market, which they don't acknowledge exists.
Let's not get into that. Let's just not. So, to sum up this episode, I think, Eldraine's really sweet. It might be a little bit too sweet, and Wizards of the Coast, don't do another deluxe edition. Just please don't. And if you're gonna do it, produce like a lot.
Do it again, but make 4 times as much at half the price.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that. Well, I mean, then again, the collector boosters themselves would be $300, but...
You know, the collector's boosters are kind of cool, actually. You know, you watch the unboxing videos and stuff like that. They're kind of cool.
I like the idea of them. The more I deal with them, the less mad I am. Like, I found out that you can get some of the full art stuff from normal draft boosters, which made me less against the collector's edition boosters. Because I thought that, and this is part of the issue with them, was that they were announced and described, and it was hard to follow exactly how they worked in relation to the other boosters. I thought that a lot of the alternate art stuff was not going to be in the regular boosters at all. And apparently you can get the alternate art stuff in the regular boosters, it's just especially rarer.
Yeah, that was what Mark Rosewater was basically saying about the collector's boosters. They are for the people who are looking for the high-end cards.
Yeah, and then you can still be playing a draft and get an extended art, an alternate art Royal Scions. Like, that's possible to do. I thought that the collector's edition boosters were the only place to get those arts. And that's not true, but a lot of people were under this impression because of the way it was announced.
I could get that. I kind of read through it when Mark Rosewater was announcing it. Like, these are for the people who want these cards specifically. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of just assumed that they'd be in the packs, but I know.
Collector's boosters are actually a great thing because it means that you don't have to buy, like, 6 boxes to try to find your foils. You can just buy the one collector's edition box, and it's probably cheaper. As well, it's easier to actually open them and go through and be excited about what you're opening. That was the entire point of the Project Booster Fun thing. But that's not how it was presented when they announced their Project Booster Fun thing. That's what it said, but so many people were confused about it, it's kind of insane. So maybe get the esports infographics team on your regular articles or something, because the graphics they make are really helpful.
I think that's one thing Wizards could work on in general, is just work on your announcements a little bit. Like, sometimes they seem a little thrown together and misinformation spread because of it. So.
I think a video, like, I don't know if they have anyone that they could contract to make videos where it's like, here's a booster, I'm going to open it. See, it's got a full art Royal Scions in it. You can get them in here.
No, they literally have that. Like,
they did that for the collector's edition.
Yeah, on the Deluxe Edition, they have an unboxing video. But they have a team on Twitch that does this too.
Oh my gosh. So basically, they could have done this. They just didn't.
Yeah, it's literally just management. They just don't manage their social media presence very well or their announcements as well as they could have.
Precisely. But yeah, I guess just the last thing I put into the cauldron here of collector's boosters crap. I do like the idea that you can get like 4 or 5 mythics in a pack.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare, but it's cool.
It's cool that you can also... It's cool that you can just be like, oh, I want F&M. I have $25 store credit. Well, I'll buy a collector's edition booster. A collector's booster or whatever. And that's nice. I like that they exist.
I mean, it also sucks that you can open your pack, and in one of the slots where you can get a rare, you get a Thornwood Falls. And then where you can get your full art foil, you instead just get a foil opportunistic dragon. Like, it's very boomer bust.
They're definitely not getting rid of the lottery aspect of packs with these.
I hate that. I hate that you can get what's the big card from the Bant Brawl deck, the one that makes fairies and draws cards. It's one of the exclusive cards from the Brawl deck. But you can get one of those, or you can get a tapped dual land that gains you a life.
But it is foil.
No, it's not.
No, it'll be foil. Trust me, don't worry.
No, it's not. There's never been a foil in that slot, ever.
Okay.
It's just goofy.
Yeah, we need to stop this. We've gone on enough about this.
Don't worry. We will have many more things to say about Magic and their various different packs. If you're listening and you're feeling down on Throne of Eldraine after us complaining about it for the last half an hour, it is a good set. It's a lot of fun. We'll be grinding up on Mythic, I'm sure. Me and Jordan. Justin's doing his janky brews.
Yeah, in our defense, we're not complaining about the cards, we're complaining about the products that the cards are in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I don't think there's anything wrong with the collector's edition. Sorry, deluxe edition. I don't think there's anything wrong with the deluxe edition. I just think that it was done poorly.
And overpriced. And very overpriced.
I think there's just a lot of things in Magic right now that's like, this is such a good idea, and then Wizards just doesn't do it quite right.
Yeah.
Just some stuff to work on.
You didn't even get a life counter in the deluxe edition.
Okay, enough.
So, I want to end this off with one more thing. Put reserve list cards in the collector boosters.
Stop it. This is a controversial enough episode. We're cutting that. We're done.
What he's trying to say is put fetch lands in collector's boosters.
Put it all in there.
I might be down for that one. All right. So we're gonna drop this cauldron of controversy back into the depths where it came, and see you guys next week. I'm Jake the Jackal on Twitch TV, Twitter, everywhere. Come follow me. I'm probably be streaming my Grind to Mythic later.
Aren't you YRE Jackal on Twitter?
Don't ask questions.
I mean, if you don't want Twitter followers, I'll take him at dubious_Justin.
He's also Dubious Challenger on Twitch.
Ooh, I want to do me.
You're gonna do yourself.
I am Jordan, and you can find me at IsItFox on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. In fact, this week on YouTube, I uploaded some stream VODs, so now I actually have content on there. Please go follow me.
To sum up, this episode is kind of a mess. We went long. It was a lot of fun, though, and we love you guys for listening. So come back next week, and let's ban Dance of the Mance. Like, it's not doing a lot in Standard. We're done with this.